What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think is the best loadout currently in Fortnite Simpsons season, because this is always the type of video I get requested most at the start of a new season. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what your favorite setup has been, and if you guys would like to use my code in the item shop when getting anything. It is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So far this season, I have preferred to use 3 weapons, but I definitely think this is something that may change as time goes on and as like myself and more players get more used to this season and more used to this loot pool. So for having 3 weapons, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. I wanted to have one more for long range, one more for close range, and then one, more for medium range, which is obviously super basic. The ARs we have this season are a bit of a struggle at longer ranges because of Bloom. And so the best choices, I think, for longer range fights this season are going to be either the infantry rifle or the Mr. Blasty pistol. But best case scenario, in my opinion, is going to be the exotic Mr. Blasty pistol that you can get from Krusty the Clown. Both the pistol and the infantry rifle have really good range, damage, and accuracy, which is huge because this allows you to land shots at those longer ranges much more consistently. With something like the striker AR or the suppressed AR, you're going to have to be tap firing a lot at longer ranges if you actually want to be accurate, or just full spray and hope bloom is in your favor. And either of those is kind of like ideal. And this added accuracy is also really something I appreciate with these weapons when peeking from cover, because even if you're trying to tap fire with the ARs, if you're, behind a rock or a tree and then you want to peek out and go for shots, you have to like kind of peek, sit still, get first shot accuracy, and then start tapping. If you want to like start shooting as you're peeking, the movement causes your spread to increase to a point that like is unfortunate with both these ARs, and that's not really something you have to worry about with either the infantry or the Mr. Blasty, because their max spread is still like incredibly accurate. And I think this allows you, as I said, to have much more consistent accuracy at range, but also to play off of cover better in those longer range fights, which is also something that's going to give you an advantage in them. With how this season has kind of played out thus far, I feel like I often have really chaotic close range fights where I'm basically just getting like chain third partied, or really stagnant mid to long range fights where both me and an opponent are just kind of playing off of cover. And for those types of encounters, I would much rather have like the Mr. Blasty or the infantry rifle over one of the ARs. Both the Mr. Blasty and infantry rifle, though, are heavily lacking in fire rate and mag size, and that's why I kind of want to prefer to carry a mid-range weapon as well, and not just use like shotgun and infantry rifle or shotgun and Mr. Blasty, because there are a lot of situations where you get in those mid-range fights as well. This added fire rate and mag size is going to be really helpful versus cars. If you have to deal with a car and your only ranged weapon is the infantry or the Mr. Blasty, that's going to be a problem, Also in like medium range fights, if you have someone like 15 to 30 meters away, the infantry or the Mr. Blasty could work, but a lot of the ARs can also really melt in those ranges and be just very easy, very consistent, and very reliable to use. And then also anytime an enemy is using some sort of mobility, like if they're shockwaving or dashing away, again, the Mr. Blasty or infantry rifle could work if you have perfect aim, but most people are going to fare better in those situations having one of the ARs. So for this mid-range slot, I would want to have either the striker AR or the suppressed AR, maybe even the compact SMG or suppressed pistol, depending on rarity. I think the suppressed pistol is pretty underrated. You'll probably see a video about that in a few days. So yeah, one of those 4 weapons. And I think the main reason why I prefer to use 3 guns this season is everything I just outlined basically boils down to there's not really a do-it-all weapon this season. In Chapter 6, we had like the Hollow Twister AR for most of it, which had you covered for long range, it had you covered for medium range, and you could even use it in close range spray, And even the third-person ARs we had in Chapter 6, like the OXR rifle and the Spire AR, these were also like very versatile, very like do-it-all weapons that played good in like every situation. With the ARs we have in the Simpsons season, I don't think any of them are that versatile to just do like everything and like condense those roles down into one weapon. If any, it would probably be the suppressed AR or the suppressed pistol, but you're still going to like have a hard time at longer ranges versus the infantry or Mr. Blasty. So that's why I end up carrying 3 weapons. It's just that these weapons aren't versatile enough, and the way the season plays, I end up needing all of them. For shotgun, I think it's just preference, and it's going to be between the Thunder and the tac shotgun. I really don't like the Ranger shotgun. And as I kind of touched on, the close range fights this season can be really chaotic and really just like third party centric. And having a shotgun that only has one shell in it is a bit rough for those situations. So I think for most people, the Thunder and the tac, it's really just preference. Both of these are good. The tac actually did get buffed coming into this season. So if you're just someone who's always hated it, it is a bit better this season. For the most part this season, I've been preferring the tac, but I think this is something that also may change as time goes on. And as the season normalizes, I think a lot of people up to this point in the season have been playing very, very passive. And when the lobby is playing very passive, I feel like that makes it harder for you to play aggressive because you're just like the odd one out that gets focused. And so I just feel like the tac has worked best for me. But as I get more used to the season, as other players get more used to the season, I could see a world where the Thunder ends up just becoming the de facto best choice. But most of my success this season has been with the tac. And when using the tac shotgun and also having like an AR spray weapon, I've gotten a lot of comments of like, why are you doing that? If you use the tac shotgun, you don't need a spray weapon. And that's true. Normally, you don't need a spray weapon to combo with the tac. But the main reason I still have like the striker AR or the suppressed AR, even when using the tac shotgun, is those situations I touched on earlier with like dealing with cars, dealing with people using mobility away, those awkward ranges that aren't quite shotgun range, but also not great for the infantry rifle. That's why I still end up using one of those weapons when using the tac shotgun. But it really just comes down to preference. I think both the Thunder and the tac are solid choices. And then the final two slots are just going to be for mobility items and healing items. Typically for heals, I don't really care that much. It's just whatever you can find. But this season, I actually think the burgers are the best choice by far. You can find these just from looting, but there's also plates of burgers around the map where you can go and collect a full stack. And a full stack of burgers is actually 6. And that's a lot. You use it very quickly, and it will heal 30 shield and either 15 or 10 white health over time. And so you can pop these in the middle of a fight or going into the fight and just like be regenerating health very quickly because the effect actually stacks if you consume multiple burgers. And so that's why I think it's the best choice. It just uses quick, heals quick. And also you can carry 6 in a stack, which is like 180 shield and then 60 white health, I think, or 90 white health, depending on if it's 10 or 15. So the burgers are the best choice by far. If you don't find enough burgers, it just kind of comes down to what you can get. Big pots are fine. The chug jug is fine. Splashes are fine. The chug jug for most of chapter 6 was kind of like the best healing item, but for how fast the season plays out at times with like the third parties and stuff, I feel like the chug is a bit awkward to use sometime. But either way, as I said, the burgers are my preferred choice. And I do make more of a point of going for those like plates of burgers that are around the map in the areas that I enjoy landing at. And then the final slot, as I said, is going to be mobility. I prefer shockwaves. I think they're the best mobility item, but also the blank flopper is a good choice as well. If you aren't able to find shockwaves or if you just have very few shockwaves, like if I'm in a situation where I have 1 shockwave or 3 blank floppers, I'm probably just going to end up taking the blank floppers, you know? The dashes are good. The way the map, with the size of the map, 1 flopper, like in the amount of time and the amount of dashes you can get out of that, it's actually really good mobility, especially for like rotating around in the late game. But for fights and for resetting fights and for dealing with third parties and stuff, I would still just prefer shockwaves, but I'm not super sad if I have to use the flopper. And a lot of times I will end up just, if I'm not going to carry a flopper and I come across one, I'll use it just so I have the dashes for that time. You can combine the flopper dashes with the slushy item, and this will allow you to travel on the map insanely quick. But this is a combo that takes 2 inventory slots, so it's not really something I consistently go for unless I'm already carrying one of the pieces of that and then come across the other. You know, like if I'm carrying fish and then happen to find a slushy as well, then I might use the slushy and then use a flopper and then have both. But I'm not going to like consistently carry both, I don't think. And so my preferred setup this season has been the Mr. Blasty pistol, the tac shotgun, the suppressed AR, burgers, and then shockwaves. As I said at the start of the video, though, I could see going more towards a 2-weapon loadout as time goes on and as people kind of get used to playing the season and kind of loosen up a bit. I feel like the pacing of every season at the very start is always just a bit weird. And so maybe as time goes on, I'll end up just being fine with using the suppressed AR at like pretty much every range. But as things have played now, I really like having, like I said, the blasty for long range, and then having one of those sort of spray weapons for more medium range and for like dealing with cars. But that is going to be it for this video. As always, if you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what your favorite setup has been so far, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.